Hey everyone. For today's topic, I want to share a few tips with you that will help you stay unattached to outcome. This is something that can seriously trip us up in life because the more attached we get to specific outcomes, well, one, it can make you incredibly unhappy if you don't get what you want, but two, funny enough, it can actually often lead to us repelling the very things that we desire. A great example of this would be when you're going on dates and you really want that outcome of getting this person to like you and going on more dates with them and eventually getting into a relationship with them. Or even if you're just wanting someone and you're approaching them and you have this attachment to outcome, you want to get their number, or you want to get them to agree to a date with you. Well, when you have that attachment to outcome when it comes to dating, it can make you very needy. And that's incredibly unattractive. I've already made plenty of videos talking about how neediness is one of the most attractive things, one of the most attractive character traits someone can have. But also, it can make us behave in ways that we normally wouldn't, that can then just repel the other person, make them not like us because they notice that we're not being authentic, we're not being true to ourselves. Maybe you're agreeing to everything the other person says, even if you're not actually interested in whatever they like, things like that. It can also play out with job interviews where you get really attached to the outcome of getting the job, which can make you come off overeager, like you have no other jobs lined up for you, and that's not going to make you look like all that attractive a candidate to the interviewers. So being too attached to outcome is something that can really trip us up in life. The more that you can lose this attachment to outcome, the more you'll find you actually get what you want, but also the happier you'll be because you're not constantly shooting yourself in the foot before you begin the race by really wanting these outcomes instead of enjoying the journeys themselves. So without further ado, let me jump into some of the tips that I wrote down for you that will hopefully help you work on losing this attachment to outcome. The first thing is meditation. Meditation is great for this. I mean, when you think about attachment to outcome, that's pretty much us desiring things, right? Well, what can you think of a group of people out there in the world who are very good at losing their attachment to earthly desires? Like the monks out there in the world, especially, the Tibetan monks that a lot of people use as examples. They meditate so much that it almost seems like they have no real earthly desires. Well, the more that you meditate, you can also work on this. You can get to a place where you're better able to be present in the moment. You're not so focused on getting specific outcomes. Instead, you're just enjoying the journey. You're enjoying yourself, enjoying your time being here. That's huge. And this is actually a very helpful tip for dating because, yeah, too many people get attached to a specific outcome. But if you just go in with the intention of enjoying yourself and having a good time, well, now you're not really attached to any specific outcome per se. You're just going there to enjoy being in the present moment with some other person, and you'll end up usually having a much better time by doing that. So meditation is huge because it allows you to stay grounded and just be present in the moment and not be so caught up in the future of trying to get these specific outcomes. Now, the second tip I have for you is to distract yourself. This more so works better for your attachment to outcome outside of the moments where you're engaging in whatever thing it is that could push you closer to that outcome. For instance, when you're not on the date with the person, but you're still thinking about them, just distract yourself. Make it so that they're not on your mind anymore. Do something more important, like working towards your long-term goals or something you enjoy doing, reading a book, playing video games, hanging out with your friends, going to the gym, exercising. All those things are great ways to distract yourself so your mind isn't so caught up in getting attached to specific outcomes. Like a good example here is when people start fantasizing about a future with someone they're interested in, where they imagine themselves like living with that person or doing things in the bedroom with them or whatever else it may be. Well, that's not super helpful, especially if you're not even in a relationship with that person yet. Like that's getting too far ahead of yourself. You're creating a fantasy that doesn't exist. So it's helpful to distract yourself so that you don't even entertain those thoughts. You just do something else to get your mind off it, and that way it'll help you just delay that attachment to outcome so you can practice these other steps and hopefully just completely clamp down on it in general. Now, the final tip that I have for you, this is something I actually do pretty often myself, and this is actually what encouraged me or inspired me to make this video, because I was doing this myself this morning, which is coach yourself through it. Just like coach yourself through this attachment to outcome. So one thing that I really like to do is I literally tell myself to let go. Like, I'll notice when I'm getting too attached to an outcome, and I'll be like, okay, I need to take a step back, let this go, because this is not helping me. It's starting to make me get anxious and stressed out. I don't need that. So let me just let go, take a step back. I am okay not getting whatever it is that I believe that I really want. And another thing that's helpful is reminding yourself that getting this thing, it may not even make you happy, and it definitely won't lead to long-term happiness, because long-term happiness stems from your mindset. So it doesn't matter what you have in your life if you can't get this right. So happiness comes from within. Getting a girlfriend or a boyfriend or getting a job or getting some material thing isn't going to make you happy if up here is all out of whack. So remind yourself that these things aren't going to make you happy. That's not how happiness works. So that's another thing that will make it easier for you to lose that attachment to outcome. And another thing tying in with that I like to tell myself is, it's okay if my life stays the way it is, if it stays as is. This step probably, or this mentality, should I say, it's probably a bit more helpful if you actually enjoy your own company. So definitely work on that. I've already made videos discussing that one, so I'm not going to get into it here. But the more that you enjoy your own company, if your life stays the way it is that really going to be all that bad? Right? And that's something I often remind myself. I'm like, my life isn't that bad the way it is. Sure, there are some things I wish were different, but it's really not that bad. And I especially remind myself this when it comes to pursuing women that I believe are slightly higher quality than the rest, because they're so freaking rare nowadays that whenever I meet one, I immediately have to control myself to not get attached to the outcome, because I'm like, holy crap, you're rare, it's hard to find you. Yeah. So to not pedestalize them and to not get attached to the outcome, I often just remind myself, if things don't work out with this woman, it's gonna be fine. Like, my life is fine as it is. I don't need her in it to make it better, to make me happy or anything like that. It'll be fine. Things will go back to the way they were before, which isn't all that bad. So that's something that's very helpful for just ensuring you don't get too attached to specific outcomes. So yeah, those are pretty much the main tips I wanted to go over in this video. I truly hope you found these helpful. If you have other tips that you believe would help others, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, because I'm curious what you guys have to say. I mean, this isn't the longest video, so obviously there are plenty of other things you could probably do to help with this, but I hope that these 3 tips were useful. And if you enjoy content like this, be sure to subscribe for more. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like on it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Arrivederci!